So I was thinking of what my next video should be about, and I said to myself, well, I know music, and I know Indiana Jones. I'll do a video about Indiana Jones. So as you can see, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. Though my cosplay is not complete because I don't have the pants, shirt, or shoes that resemble what Indy wore, and though I haven't been to a Comic-Con, nor have I ever cosplayed as Indiana Jones, I believe I'd be too self-conscious about it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to give you all my personal opinion on all 4 Indiana Jones movies. I'll do a separate video for each movie, but for now, let's start with the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Let's do this. Raiders of the Lost Ark. So out of all 4 movies, this is my favorite by far, and is my most favorite movie of all time. Period. I can probably recite the whole movie from memory. When Netflix had the Indiana Jones movies available, I would watch them all repeatedly. This movie has action, adventure, comedy, romance, suspense, and horror, all in less than 2 hours. You can see with what I'm wearing, I'm a huge fan. You like? The beginning sequence where Indy goes into the cave with Satipo to recover a Peruvian idol. Wow, what an amazing sequence. The whip swinging, the spikes, booby traps, and the boulder. You can't forget the boulder. Amazing. And that whole beginning part didn't even really have any bearing to the plot of the movie except for introducing fellow archaeologist, a Frenchman named Rene Belloc, and showing us how badass Indy is. For me, the ultimate scene of the movie has to be hands down the truck chase scene. Man, when that music from John Williams starts up and you see Indy riding a horse to catch up to the truck, goosebumps. And when he goes under the truck, dang, what a stunt. The stunts in this movie are freaking awesome. Props to the stunt people in this movie. Pat Roach, Vic Armstrong, and many talented stunt performers. Wow. Sallah, portrayed by John Rhys Davies, is Indy's trusty sidekick, just like how Robin is to Batman. I always felt that Indy and Sallah go way back and must have been in many adventures before Raiders. I'm glad he returned in The Last Crusade. When Sallah said, "Indy, why does the floor move?" and Indy says, "Give me your torch," and looks down and says, "Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?" And Sallah says, "Asps. Very dangerous. You go first, Indy." You could tell that Indy had mutual respect for Sallah to actually go first. He could have just said, "Screw you. I don't think so, Sallah. I hate snakes. You go first," or something like that. I don't know. It's a good thing I wasn't the screenwriter for that movie. Marion Ravenwood, played by Karen Allen, who was in another of my favorite movies, Animal House. Indy must have done her wrong when they were younger. That love and anger she had for him was a perfect way for her to be played. I'm not even going to mention that she supposedly was underage when they hooked up. Okay, I mentioned it. Let's move on. Now that I'm thinking about it, was she his great sidekick? No. She was his equal. She had to deal with her own close calls, and I do believe she helped Indy in a few scenes. The bar scene where she outdrinks the one person was a testament to her badassery. And when she was in that stationary plane that was going around in circles, shooting up all those Nazis while Indy was getting beat up by the huge German mechanic, aka Pat Roach. Wow. So Denholm Elliott's performance as Marcus Brody. His portrayal in Raiders was so great. More of a colleague and mentor to Indy. He didn't have much screen time in Raiders, but his role was important in letting us know that, even if subliminal, Indy looked up to someone else. I'm not a fan of how Marcus Brody was portrayed in The Last Crusade, but I'll get into that when I do that video. Major Arnold Tote. He says one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. Shoot them both. This Gestapo agent was perfectly betrayed by Ronald Lacey. He even shaved the bald spot on his head to betray Tote for no reason at all. His character didn't care who died. He was about to let Marion have it in the bar until Indy whipped away the burning fireplace poker from Tote's hand. And who can forget the suspenseful scene where he takes out what looks like a weapon seen on the Saturday afternoon kung fu theater movies that aired when I was a kid and ends up being just a coat hanger. Now we get to Indiana Jones, named after his dog, and in real life named after George Lucas's dog. Originally he was going to be named Indiana Smith and was close to being portrayed by Tom Selleck, but thanks to us all, Tom had to do a show called Magnum P.I. Indy's use of his trusty bullwhip is very ingenious because in reality, what archaeologist carries around a whip? Here are my whips made to look like the whips from Raiders. This one here is made by David Morgan, who is the original maker of whips used in Raiders. Sadly, he is no longer with us, but his company is still around, making great quality whips. This one is made by Blake Bruning from Trinity Whip Company. I have about 6 of his whips, and I really love his whips as much as David Morgan's whips. Check this out right here. This even has this symbol, but in a miniature form right here on the handle. Very cool, very cool. Love it. I'll put a link in the description from both of these whip makers. Also, how the hell was Harrison Ford able to wear a leather jacket in the hot deserts of Tunisia for filming? I don't know about that. I'd be wearing a tank top, shorts, and Huarache sandals. But again, that is what makes Indy such a badass. The jacket I'm wearing is from Wested and is the company that made the jackets worn by Harrison Ford and his stunt doubles. I'll put a link in the description too for Wested Leather Company. His fedora and leather jacket, along with the whip and gas mask military bag drooped to his side, are what makes the character so unique. Speaking of fedoras, this one I'm wearing is made by Thomas of adVintage Fedora Hats. I also own and love my Screencapped fedoras made by Brian Lalonde. I'll also put a link in the description for these awesome hat makers. Along with Indy being so fallible is what makes him so relatable to us all, because he's not a superhero. He's human, just like you and me. I love the scene where the huge guy twirling around a sword, doing all his fancy moves, and Indy just takes out his gun and shoots the guy. Originally, there was supposed to be this big fight scene between Indy and the sword guy, but Harrison Ford had dysentery from the food in Tunisia. So Harrison said to Steven Spielberg, "Why doesn't Indy just shoot the guy?" Steven said, "Okay," thus creating one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Also, about hats. So this is the one, obviously from Raiders. This one right here is the Clipper scene. Is a Clipper fedora. The one that Indy wore when he was in the airplane going from America to Nepal. I love both of these hats. Anyway, this movie came out in the summer of 1981. I actually turned 9 in July when the movie came out, so I was at a very impressionable age. Here's the story of how I went to go see Raiders. My stepfather said that we were going to go see a movie, and we were going to see a movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was thinking to myself, what the heck is a Raider of a Lost Ark? I didn't want to go see the movie. I was actually upset to have to go see this movie. Why? I had no freaking clue. But when the movie started and all the action happened, I was glued to my seat. I couldn't contain myself. I thought to myself, I need to get a whip. I need to get a hat. When the movie ended, I walked out of the movie theater as if my whole life changed. I don't know if I know how to explain it, but I felt that something good was happening. I don't recall if there has been any other movie that has done that to me or has made me feel that way. Somehow, I was able to get a cheap whip. I believe it was when my parents and I went to Knott's Berry Farm in Winter Park months later. I tried cracking it and at first had no luck, but eventually got it to crack. I wanted to try and swing from a tree branch using the whip, so I tried and failed. The whip broke mid-swing. I was only a foot off the ground, so I didn't get hurt, but I was very disappointed because my whip broke and I didn't have another one to use. Later on, my stepfather surprised me with a nylon whip he made himself. I wish I still had that whip. And how could I forget composer John Williams? He wrote some amazing themes for Raiders. Honestly, I believe that if you started humming the theme to Raiders in front of a random person at almost any age span, they would know it's Indiana Jones. This movie has left such an incredible impact on me. Shows how great this movie is. And probably because when it came out, I was at that perfect age to be able to submerge myself into the story. Anyway, this concludes my thoughts about Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I know there's a character or two that I might have not mentioned, but the ones I did mention are ones that stand out for me. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of the movie was, or your favorite line, or who your favorite character was, besides Indy, of course. And if you like this video, do me a solid and like it, and if you feel really generous, subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions for other Indy related content in the comments, let me know. Thanks for watching.